Cam, how are you feeling about our linebackers this year? And Xavier Restrepo, of course, has been addressed. Do you think De'Aaron King will be ready for Bama?
I think the linebackers can be okay if we play who we need to play, point blank, period. I've talked about it. Playing the wrong guys, playing the less athletic guys who don't have the instincts to make up for their lack of athleticism has not served us well. So if we play who we need to play, I think that we can be good. Corey Flagg, Tyreek Austin Cave, finally it seems like Avery Huff is rounding a corner. You still have Sam Brooks, who all he does is make plays and tackles, even though you don't, really hear much about him. He's a guy with increased athleticism at that position, which is going to be more helpful. So I would really like to see those guys as opposed to seeing Bradley Jennings Jr., again, who's probably a good person, running himself out of the hole over and over and over again, or just missing tackles. I don't want to see that. Please and thank you. In terms of and I talked about Xavier Restrepo already. Boom, done. I want to see, again, if he can go from being a 4A player, like I think he is right now, to being a major league player. In the starting lineup or at the top of the rotation, which I think, hopefully he can, but we'll see. In terms of De'Aaron King, I do think that he's going to be ready for Alabama. Manny Diaz said if he has to play on crutches, he would not miss that game. And he continues to be ahead of the timeline for all of his metrics for evaluation in terms of his rehab coming back from that ACL tear in the bowl game. So all signs point to De'Aaron King being active and everything. We'll see exactly what we do with him. What if there is a leash on him? You know what I mean? If we're like, hey, it's what was that? 2001, my freshman year. Mike Vick rolled his ankle, got rolled up real nasty like a week or two before they played Miami. He didn't start that game. The kid with number 11, I forget his name, did. And then he ended up coming in off of the bench. I kept looking. I was standing in the student section, and I wasn't even really much watching the game because I kept watching that sideline because I was like, number 7 is going to start throwing a ball sometime soon, which means he's coming in. And Miami got up about 14-0, and I started seeing some passes. It was like, Mike Vick's coming in. Mike Vick came in, but Mike Vick wasn't Mike Vick. And I know that Frank Beamer, because he said it afterwards, he said, I told him don't run. I told him, and you could see him wanting to, and then also thinking, damn, first of all, Miami's fast as hell. Shit. Second of all, my body is not in the shape where I could just go and do things, right? So he had that other voice in his head, Mike, get down, Mike, Mike, don't do it. I want to see if De'Aaron King has that same thing for Manny Diaz, which is like, cool. I know normally you would try to weave your magic, but if you feel like this is not a great situation, just go down. This is a marathon, not a sprint, even with this game. So I'm interested to see if there's any kind of restriction or how they call plays and all the kind of things that they would do with him. Because again, De'Aaron King, a big part of his, greatness is his mobility. And if he has that limited, or if you're scared of a few, recurrent, you can get injured at any time. You know what I mean? But if you're a little bit more concerned than you normally would be, we'll see how that impacts how they call the plays and how they run the game and how they manage everything with him on the field.
For some reason, I may be way off. The name Marcus Randall.
No, he was afterwards. It was a white guy, Caucasian gentleman. Because Marcus Randall was number 3.
Okay.
I forget his name.
Dave Meyer. Or Grant Noel.
Grant Noel. That's it. That's it.
I do remember. I remember both those names. Actually, Dave Meyer threw 53 passes that year, and Noel threw 10. But I remember both those guys.
Yeah, but Grant Noel, I think, is the one who started that game in front. And everyone was just like, yeah. And I mean, at least for me, I know a bunch of other guys, even some guys who not work in sports media, who were standing by each other in that game. And I was just like, yeah, like we're gonna wait for Michael Vick. So. Because we want to see that. But again, he was very limited. What they did with him, how they coached him, you could tell that they had instructed him on how to and not to move. I'm interested to see, because I do believe that De'Aaron King is going to play against Alabama if there's a similar scenario regarding play calling and kind of just general game management that's been dictated to him for the interest of the preservation of health.
Yeah, I remember both those names. Lee Suggs scored 28 touchdowns that year. Good golly.
Yeah, he scored a lot.